Hey guys, you know me. My name's Jim. I'm with CGC Sports Illustrated. I've got a totally bizarre unboxing video today because I'm actually co-hosting it with my friend Karlo here. Karlo, he and I have known each other for a little while. He sent me some issues to press about, geez, 9, 10 months ago or something like that. Finally got him back from CGC, and he's like, "Hey, we should do this unboxing video together." And I thought that is a fantastic freaking idea. So this is Karlo. Karlo, tell us a little bit about yourself.
How's it going, James? I'm Karlo from Alcamon Collectibles, and I collect all sorts of stuff right now. Sports cards. I'm mostly into autograph stuff, like autograph Sports Illustrateds, and just maybe about a couple of months before I contacted you, I really wasn't interested in grading Sports Illustrateds or how that worked and how newsstand issues were very important. So I did a lot of research before I kind of stumbled onto one of your videos, and that kind of psyched me out, and I decided to reach out to you on Instagram, and here we are, really.
Awesome. Well, cool. I think we got about 10 issues to go through.
Yeah, 10. I
Okay,
sent
cool.
10.
And these are, just like my unboxing videos. You and I know what these issues are. You haven't looked at the grades yet. I haven't seen the grades yet. So we get our first reaction. What I love about this too, Karlo, is you've got some great issues. So a great batch of vintage issues and then some fantastic modern first covers too. So whenever you're ready to get started, let's go.
All
I'm
right, great.
excited to see what you got.
So basically, I kind of just went for stuff that I was familiar with, and certain athletes that I really like and admire, mainly goats. So I did two different things, two different passes with you. One was vintage, one was modern. I think this is vintage. Let me turn it upside down. All right, here we go. So here's the first. So that's a Mantle 1962.
Do me a favor.
Um,
Yeah. Let's take it out of that CGC plastic there and take a look at it.
all right. So it got a 4.5, but honestly, I wasn't even sure if this was a newsstand issue. So I'm just psyched that it was newsstand, and it worked out that way. I mean, this was just a find on eBay early on before I reached out to you, and it was like I must have paid about $25 for it raw.
Oh, that's a freaking
So
home run for a $25 eBay find. And you can obviously that was like a year ago because there's no way that you'd find that issue in a newsstand for 25 bucks on eBay today. And you're right. I remember when I pressed these for you that I wasn't even sure. There were a number of them there that I wasn't sure if they were newsstand or subscriptions because they weren't in the best condition. I mean, 4.5, but who cares? It's freaking Mickey Mantle, man. So let's
oh,
talk about this one a little bit. That's Mickey Mantle's sixth cover. It came out on July 2nd, 1962. Pop reports there's a 9.2, there's two 9.0s, and there's 3.85. What I love about this issue, I always like the stories that go along with the issue. So this one obviously came out in 1962, and 1962 was a huge year for the Yankees and for Mickey Mantle. They beat the Giants in a 7-game World Series that year, and Mickey Mantle was the MVP in 1962. And that's a great looking cover. Some of those early Mickey Mantle covers, he kind of shares the cover with other athletes, or his picture's really small. That, I mean, from a work of art standpoint, that Mantle is just a beautiful cover. You can see the pinstripes and the Yankees logo there. Oh, I love it. Love it.
yeah, I searched for this one in particular for a while, but somehow it kind of snuck up on me. So I'll keep that. All right, here we go. Let's see. Let me take it out of the bag. Here's the next one.
Very nice. There you go. Classic issue. Hank Aaron 715. That's, so there's a lot of those out there, but there's not a lot
Right.
of high grade. So that's a really condition sensitive issue because it's got all that black ink on that. Was that another eBay find for you?
Yep, another eBay find. This one was actually encapsulated already by some other different plastic. So
Hmm.
I had to be kind of careful to pop it open out of that plastic, put it in a new plastic, and then ship it to you first to get pressed. So it's had its journey all the way back to me.
That's awesome. So I love this issue. I've owned a number of these, and still own one or two that are graded. So this is obviously that famous 715 issue. Came out on April 15th, 1974. It's amazing. There's one 9.8 out there. I know the guy that owns it. He's never going to sell it. It's just the fact that there's a copy out there that exists in 9.8 is amazing. There's two 9.2s. There's five 9.0s. Very difficult issue because it's so condition sensitive with all that black ink.
Yeah, and it's an iconic photo. I mean, this one I was definitely looking for. So there might be one more Aaron in here somewhere, I think in the vintage. So it's one of the next two. Let's see. Oh. So I don't know if you see this. Here's a 63 or 65 Wilt.
I do see that one. And even, and again, I'll tell this, Karlo, that's another one that because it wasn't in the greatest condition and it had a lot of problems, it was difficult to tell if it was a subscription issue or not. And it looks like it came back as a newsstand.
Yeah. I mean, I'm pretty shocked. I know the staples weren't tied up pretty well. I knew that going in. So I wasn't surprised of the grade, but the fact that it's slabbed with CGC and its newsstand, I'm super happy.
Yeah, as you should be. So this is a cool cover. So this is Wilt's second cover. Came out on April 12th, 1965. Not a lot of these graded. In fact, I think your 3.5, I think, is only the fifth graded copy that exists. So there's a 9.2, there's an 8.0, there's a 6.5, and I think there's a 4.5. And then your 3.5. So that's, I mean, super, super rare. And this is, people, I'm a big vintage basketball guy and I love Wilt Chamberlain and that just looks great. People forget Wilt Chamberlain's, when he left college, he played for the Harlem Globetrotters.
Wow.
Which most people don't even know about. So when he was in college, he wanted to leave college as a junior and go to the NBA or the ABA, and neither of them allowed college players at the time. And so he signed a 1-year contract for $50,000, which back then is like, that's like $500,000 today, to go play with the Harlem Globetrotters for a year. And so he played for the Harlem Globetrotters for a year, and then he went to go play. And it's interesting. So the other cool thing about the first two Wilt issues, he's wearing a uniform that says Philadelphia on it.
Right.
His rookie issue says Philly, and the second issue says Philly, but it's actually two completely different franchises. So in his first issue, he played for the Philadelphia Warriors, played for them for a few years. Then they moved to San Francisco, and then he got traded to the Philadelphia 76ers, and he's actually a 76er in that cover that you've got right there.
Oh, man. I mean, what's surprising is the color is still pretty vibrant. For it to be like full pink, it pops really well. So
yeah, I
super
agree.
stoked.
I agree completely. It is very rare for Sports Illustrated to use that kind of pink in any of their covers. I don't know another issue that I've ever seen where they're using that pink like that. And you're right, it pops, and just the eye appeal and the visualness of that cover is to me, it's visually better than his first cover.
Yeah, I agree. Awesome.
All right. So how many more do we have here in this little stack you got?
One last one of vintage, and then I have 6 modern ones.
Okay, cool.
So last vintage is another Aaron. It's his first cover. Graded at a 4.5 as well, but newsstand, so I'll take it.
Absolutely. Again, that was another one that we weren't sure whether it was newsstand or not. And again, that's another where there are less than 10 of those graded in newsstands. So that's Hank Aaron's first cover, August 18th, 1969. It is a friggin' crime that it took until 1969 for Sports Illustrated to put Hank Aaron on the cover. I mean, he was, in the last quarter of his career by then. But amazing. So Pop reports there's one 9.0, there's 3 8.0s, there's a 7.5, and there's a couple others out there. I own this one in a 4.5. I sold it to a friend of mine several months ago, but very, very tough. And 4.5 was the best I could ever get to. It's great.
It's just so hard to look at these covers on certain sites like eBay, whatnot, wherever, to make sure that it's a newsstand issue, because sometimes even the seller's not so sure. So I've kind of I'm getting better at looking at where the labels usually are printed, like here or here, sometimes over here. But yeah, I got lucky with this one as well.
Yeah, and that's a great point. Whenever you buy, especially vintage issues, whenever you buy a vintage issue and you are buying it on electronically, you're not buying it in person and touching it. It's always a risk that it could come back as a subscription issue. And even when you send it in, shoot, I think it's happened to me 3 or 4 times where I've sent issues into CGC where in my mind, I was 100% convinced it was a newsstand issue, and it came back as subscription issue. So you never really know. So to get these and have them all pop, and like we said when I pressed these for you, both of us weren't 100% sure that they were newsstands, and to get all of them
Right.
back as newsstand, whatever the grades are, it doesn't matter. They're awesome in any grade.
Right, right. I agree. It's pretty awesome. All right, so that was it for the vintage.
Cool.
Now I've got some stuff that the pops are a little bit higher on a couple, which I know you'll recognize real quickly, and then a couple of bangers too.
Okay,
Let's see.
cool. Yeah, no, again, you sent me the list of what your issues were, and those vintage issues were fantastic. I mean, those are all impossible to find issues in newsstand, and they're great.
Yeah.
And these modern issues that you've got, these are big dogs, man. They're huge.
Let's see. Here we go. The first one I think is it's a classic.
Recognize that one.
Yeah, Tiger's first issue. It graded a 7.5. Newsstand. These are even hard to find in newsstand. I know the pop report's a little bit higher on this since it's a little bit more of a modern issue, and everyone's, Tiger's obviously super popular, but just having one slab was super, super cool.
Agree completely. Yeah, that's Tiger's first cover, October 28th, 1996. Not as many 9.8s as you might think. There's only 6 9.8s.
Wow.
And when you look at like LeBron's first cover and Kobe's first cover and Mahomes' first cover, there's tons of 9.8s. So there's only 6 9.8s. There's 11 9.6s, 17 9.4s, plenty of them graded. Easily one of the top modern issues that I'd say it's probably Tiger, Kobe, and LeBron are probably the big 3 of the modern era. And that's a great looking one in 7.5. Fantastic.
Great. Sweet.
Great get.
All right. Let's see. Oh, speaking of, there's the Kobe.
Go. Another one of the big 3.
This one graded an 8.0, which I'm totally happy with.
As you should be. Like I said, all of these are, because they're so big, so great, so hard to find, regardless, the grade is secondary. Yeah, I mean, that's Kobe's first cover, April 27th, 1998. Now, here's where the pop reports, and keep in mind, the Kobe issue came out 2 years after the Tiger issue, and here are the pop report differences. There's 17 9.8s. There's 18 9.6s and 7 9.4s. So a heck of a lot more Kobe's out there than the Tiger, and it only came out a couple of years later.
But get this. So for this one, this might be the only one that was from my own collection from 1998 that I bought at a newsstand myself.
That's fantastic. I love that. I love that. I've still, that's how I got into this too, is I, had a stack of Sports Illustrated sitting around from 20, 30 years ago and pulled up eBay to see what was going on and what they might be worth. And I found out people were getting them graded. And I still, same thing. I own a number of slabs that, either I bought for myself or my mom bought for me or whatever, when I was a kid, that I'd had stuffed away in a box for all these years. That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. And my brother had kept this in really good shape. And when I saw it, it was during the pandemic. I told him to bring some of our stuff over, and I pulled it out. I'm like, whoa, I didn't even remember we had it. So it was super cool to now get it to this state, from all to go around and then end up here is really cool.
Yeah. And even better that you own that from the very beginning. That's fantastic. That's a good one, man. Great issues, my man. These are good.
All right. Let's see what we got. I think, yeah. This is LeBron's first issue, right? Graded an 8. This was a pretty good find. I think I paid about 45 for this, like maybe like a year and a half ago. It was probably one of my first newsstand issues that I searched and decided to purchase, and it kind of opened up some doors of, okay, I'm kind of getting this now, and then going through the process and getting a hold of you and stuff. I mean, I know there's different steps, but I think it's well worth it if you do the research.
Yeah, I mean, what I said the big three modern issues, and we did all three of them in a row. Tiger, Kobe, and LeBron. This one came out on April 27th, 1998, just right after. Or I'm sorry, this came out on that was the Kobe info. This came out on February 18th, 2002. Now we're getting into some of the bigger pop reports, but again, I always compare it to sports cards. Luka Doncic's rookie card. I think there are 3,000 PSA 10s for Luka Doncic's rookie card. LeBron's first Sports Illustrated cover, they're 34 9.8s. And while in our hobby, 34 9.8s is a heck of a lot, we've still got to look at it, as it relates to other hobbies out there, and just gives you a real idea of the comparison of how rare these things are.
Right, for sure.
So the rest of the pops on this, they're 37 9.6s, they're 27 9.4s. And again, so interesting. So let's compare the pop reports for Kobe and LeBron. Obviously LeBron is about double for 9.8, 9.4, and 9.6. There's about twice as many LeBrons graded as Kobe. LeBron was only 4 years after Kobe. But that tells you the difference about, Kobe was underrated when he came into the league. You know what? He was drafted like 13th or 14th by the Hornets and then traded to the Lakers. And, people weren't sure that this 18-year-old kid could play in the league. So people didn't. So, some people bought the issue and saved it. But then LeBron comes around 4 years later and, the headline on that Sports Illustrated is the chosen one. He was the chosen one. Everybody knew he was going to be big. So everybody collected everything they could of LeBron's, and they hung on to it, and they kept it in good condition. And I think that's probably the big reason why you see the huge difference, just because of the way the two players came into the league.
Right.
Good one. All right, what's up?
Let's see. Oh, you're going to like this one.
Look at that, Karlo! That is it! Oh, that's fantastic! That is awesome!
Yeah, this one crushed.
That's a home run on every level, including the grade.
Absolutely. I was so surprised. Because when I bought it, I was like, it looks pretty clean, but I really didn't know enough to know what it could grade or what the real grading standards were. Like, it took me a while to understand 9.8, not 10, coming from sports cards. So, I pretty much think 10 isn't even possible at this point. I've never seen, is 10 even a thing? Have you ever seen a 10?
No, so there's you can't, so CGC scale goes 9.8, 9.9, and 10. They've never given a Sports Illustrated anything above a 9.8, and they probably never will. There are a handful of comic books that have gotten 9.9s and 10s. But you got to keep in mind, they've graded over 10 million comic books. They've probably only graded maybe 50 or 60,000 Sports Illustrateds, maybe not even that many. Also, a lot of the comic books started being produced to get that 9.9 or 10. So there's a lot of modern comic books that they produce variant covers where the cover is actually metal. It's actually aluminum. And so you don't get those paper flaws with things like that. And so, and these Sports Illustrateds are just, the comic book collectors are 20, 30 years ahead of magazine collectors because they've been graded for a lot longer. They've been collectible for a lot longer. So I think you just see that, and the production quality is a little bit better. These things are the way they're produced, printed, distributed, displayed on the newsstand. I mean, 90% of these issues, when they're sitting on the newsstand, will never be a 9.8 because they've got flaws that can't be fixed. So that's a long answer to your question. No, there's never been a copy ever of Sports Illustrated ever graded above 9.8, and I think it's highly unlikely there ever will be.
Crazy.
So that 9.2, so let's talk about that Jordan. So that's the Another Bull Run issue, came out on December 17th, 1990. Here's the pop reports on it. There's a 9.6. There's now 4 9.2s. Used to be 3. Karlo just popped number 4, 9.2. And then there's 2 9.0s. That's awesome. I'm thrilled for you, man. That's fantastic. By the way, I own one of the other 9.2. So and that's the best one. And I own all 50 Jordans graded. And 9.2 is the best I've been ever able to do in that issue. So congrats, man. That thrilled for you. That's awesome.
Thanks, James. So let me ask you, the Jordan 86 one-man gang, what do you have that in?
So very funny you mentioned that. I just negotiated a trade literally about 2 hours ago to upgrade my one-man gang. I think the best one-man gang I've had is either a 6.5 or a 7. And a good friend of mine who I've known in this hobby for a long time, and he and I do a ton of stuff together. He and I just negotiated a trade for that, and I traded him a couple of other Jordan. He traded me. I traded him a really high grade Olympic Jordan for a 8.5 of one-man gang.
Wow.
And a lower grade in the Olympic one.
Wow.
So next week, when he ships it out to me and it comes, I'll have 8.5 will be in my hand, and that'll be the highest copy I've gotten.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah,
that's a tough one. I don't think I've ever seen one. I mean, I've seen a couple graded, but way out of my price range. But it's just such a nice cover.
Yeah, One Man Gang is so that came out in 1986. That was his fourth cover. One Man Gang's his fourth cover. And very hard to find. And you're right. There's a 9.6 in the 83 issue, the 284 issues. There's a 9.8 for each of those 84 issues, the Olympic one and A Star Is Born. But I think the highest grade for One Man Gang is only 9.4. So
wow.
Yeah.
Wow. All right. Let me see. Oh, I want to save this one for last.
Okay.
I'll show you this. There's 2 left. Here's the second to last one. So another classic football, the GOAT, Brady's first cover at a 7.5. I know there's a good amount of these as well, but man, it looks clean in this thing.
It doesn't. Here's what I'll say about this. There's a lot of them out there. There's a lot of them that have been graded, although not as many as you think. The pop reports are lower than Kobe and lower than LeBron.
Okay.
But they rarely come up for sale. Very rarely do you see a Brady first cover in any grade up for sale. So let's talk about this one. April 15th, 2002. So literally 2 months after LeBron's first cover. There are only 6 9.8s. So, and here's what's interesting. 6 9.8s, 17 9.6s, and 9 9.4s. And what that tells me is this is a really condition sensitive issue because there's been a lot graded, but very few 9.8s. As opposed to the LeBron, where you've got 37 9.8s, 34 9.6s, 27 9.4s. Condition isn't as important on that. It's hard to get that 9.8 in comparison to all those that are graded. Really difficult to get a high grade, and that 7.5 is really nice. That's a great issue.
Great. And I know that we talked about this issue when you were pressing it, actually, and you mentioned that there was something in the back that was kind of hard to get out, but man, you did a great job.
So, no, thanks. Yeah, so actually show the back there, Karlo.
I don't
That's why this is such a condition sensitive issue. All of that dark ink on the back, especially along the spine there, that's why it's so hard to pop that 9.8 in this issue.
Got it. Yeah. So, all right. And last but not least.
Go!
We got a 79 Magic first Lakers cover. Graded at a 6.5. I know the pop is like really low on this guy.
It's really low. So that's Magic's third cover. It's his first pro cover. He had the 2 when he was at Michigan State. Came out on November 19th, 1979. There is a 9.6 on that, and I know the guy that owns it. In fact, the guy that owns it is the guy I just did the trade with for the Jordan issue that we just talked about. And I'm glad he owns the 9.6 in this one because he is a huge Magic Johnson fan, probably the biggest Magic Johnson fan I know of. So I'm glad that he's got that 9.6. But then the next one's 9.0, and then there's an 8.5, and I think there's probably only 2 or 3 others graded out there. So it's super rare, super difficult to find.
You really did a great job pressing. I mean, I can just look at how it was pressed, now that it's in the slab, and you did a really good job. Like, I'm stoked at a 6.5. I thought maybe a 5. I'd get a 5 maybe, but a 6.5 is like, up the ladder. So that is just really nice.
Yeah, thank you. That came out really good. I love that cover. I love that font that they use for Magic, because I think that is such a snap. Man, that font in that kind of bubble lettering just screams 1979.
Right.
Love that.
Super
That's
cool.
a great cover. So Magic, depending on how you count them, Magic was on about 27 covers of just the regular weekly issues. He was on about 27 covers. Super collectible, and to have his third and his first pro cover at 6.5 is a freaking home run, man. That's awesome.
Wow. Is he number 2 to Jordan in terms of number of covers, or is there like Nicholas or?
Yeah, so there's different ways to count them, and I haven't gone through, and I need to go through and kind of do a pop report on what's second. Ali is right there.
Oh yeah.
LeBron is right there. Magic is right there. It depends on if Sports Illustrated for a lot of times started putting athletes in these, like, they'd have this tiny little box in the corner. So they'd have like the Magic on the main cover, and then they'd have another athlete in a little tiny box on the corner. So it depends on if you count them, if they're in this little box, if that counts. So it's not a hard and fast rule. Like, for example, Jordan was technically on a lot more than 50 covers, but a lot of them, he was kind of in that little box. I've always said, Sports Illustrated has come out and said, Jordan has been on 50 covers, and these are the 50 Jordan covers. And so that's kind of what I've always gone off of, is what Sports Illustrated has said. But technically, he's been on a lot more weekly covers than that.
Awesome. So there you have it, man. That's it. That's
awesome. I really appreciate you allowing me to kind of co-host this unboxing video for you, because these were some great looking grades, and I just always love doing this, man.
Yeah, listen, I mean, if there's any kind of endorsement I can do right now, I mean, you've done a great pressing. Look, when I first reached out, I clearly had no idea who you were or what you were about, and I kind of took a little bit of a leap, but everything came back, crystal clean, and I truly appreciate the process and teaching me what you have so far. So thanks for all that.
Hey, no, it was a lot of fun doing it. In fact, I remember you and I talked on the phone. I was visiting my parents, so I was in St. Louis at the time. And I was standing outside my parents' house or my sister's house or something like that. And you and I were talking on the phone, and it's a ton of fun for me helping people getting started in this hobby. And it was a good conversation. I'm glad you trusted me and sent me the issues to press. And it turned out to be a home run on all those issues, because those are they're all ended up being newsstand, and they all are big issues from big stars. Love them all.
Awesome. Thanks, man. Thank you. Thanks for your time,
man. I appreciate you doing this unboxing video. Hey, anytime you want to do another one, next time you send a batch in, shoot me a message, Karlo. We'll do it again.
Great. You got it. You got it, James. Thanks a lot.
Thanks.